Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Retroactive Sports Podcast. I'm Tan Patrick, and today I got a new guest, uh, Charlie Tord. How you doing, Charlie Tord?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. By the grace of God, I'm here.
That's good to hear. I didn't know that you played a lot of sports, Charlie Tord, but how do you feel? Who's the best player you ever played against, Charlie Tord?
That would probably be my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He was really good on and off the field.
All right, let's get to our real host on this show, Andrew Lines and Johnny Townsend. Thank you. Thank you, Tan Patrick. You didn't have to yell at Charlie Tord there.
Yeah, that was a bit too much. Charlie is just a cool human being. Very humble. I think I feel. I'm just glad we're doing this episode just me and you, and that there's not a third person
Oh, yeah.
just waiting in the wings to jump in on our retro sports podcast here.
Yeah. There's not a third person.
Nope.
Oh, wait. Who's that
What's
third
that?
person on Zoom?
It is the Toxic Avenger. No, it's not. It's Brian Finch.
It's Brian Finch. That's right, Brian. Part of the airing of Grievous's Star Wars podcast with me. And what's the other one? I only know the one that I'm on.
Crafting and drafting.
Staying on brand.
Always promote yourself.
Yeah, it's that Star Wars show, and then I'm currently doing the crafting and drafting with my buddies Matt Johnson, that you know from here on the network, and Ryan Holt Bailey and Alex Morris, who are good co-hosts of mine. That's my compliment for the day for them.
They're all good. Right, out of all five of us, them three and me and Andrew, rate us from best to worst.
I will say best hair, Andrew.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'll say best beer drinking ability, Johnny.
Yep.
I will say Alex for his love of sci-fi is next, and then Ryan is last, but that's only because he's good at everything.
I figured you would love Alex would be the best at a person that is just totally against tattoos. Wink, wink.
Yes, Alex does not enjoy tattoos. Actually, I think I may have accidentally spoke the truth about him.
Actually, I just want somebody to love me the way that Alex loves TCU. That's all I want in this one.
Shout out all our Texas listeners.
I just want somebody to love me the way that Taylor Swift loves being famous.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got to market. It's bringing people in.
It is.
I just don't want anybody to hate me and look at me and judge me the way that my wife does Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic. I got to tell you that. So according to my wife, Jokic should not be the best player in the NBA. He's slow.
She's going by just how she saw 2 minutes of him playing last night.
She actually, that was the first part of it. So pretty much she played on her phone. She looked up and she said, "Look at that guy. He's gassed." And Jacoby and I said, that guy is the best player in the NBA.
By the way, Brian, he finished with a triple-double last night.
Yeah.
A 30-point triple-double.
He got me 71 points in fantasy basketball. And she was like, he's gassed. He can't be any good. And we proceeded. That's when we told her that he's like the best player in the NBA, if not arguably. And she couldn't figure it out. She goes, "Look at him. He's slow. He just walks everywhere. He just does that." And I'm like,
yeah, he's smart.
But watch him just work Anthony Davis like there's no tomorrow.
Anthony Davis, one of the top premier defensive big guys in the NBA, couldn't stop him.
Yep.
Because he plays like an old man who barely jumps.
I don't know if anyone really could, just because of how patient he is and how much he uses his teammates.
Yeah.
He honestly doesn't care if he doesn't score a single point.
No.
He doesn't care.
He's got really good footwork too.
Oh yeah.
He's got some Elijah Wan footwork. Like I saw him down there. He's got some good footwork.
He's got his signature move is that spin around hook shot thing that he does, and it is almost unstoppable. That weird, and his shot has got a weird little hitch to it that kind of works. That really works for him. But you're both right. What really sets him apart is you can't rush him. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be like almost anybody he goes up against is twice as athletic as he is, but they can't rush him. They can't make him speed up. He runs at his own pace, no matter what you do.
And he has the best vision in the NBA.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
But speaking of NBA, let's get to a guy that played 11 years in the NBA for the Knicks, Spurs, and Rockets. And kind of it's not Charlie Tord, it's Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward. Now, I know the name Charlie Ward because in the mid 90s, I was hardcore into my basketball card collecting days as a kid. And the Charlie Ward rookie card was one that I still to this day have quite a few of. And I'm going to retire on those.
Okay.
They're worth a couple bucks. But I definitely remember him from my favorite version of the New York Knicks. And that's the one because I had Larry Johnson on the team.
99 Knicks. What a great team.
I'm a big LJ. They had Larry Johnson and that guy who tried to choke his coach at one time.
That was the Knicks team that proved that the Patrick Ewing theory a little bit.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Latrell Sprewell, just for those who don't know, that's who I was talking about. Yeah.
I'm like Oakley seems like that kind of guy. Did he do
Oakley
that?
probably did, but nobody talked about it because they'd probably get choked if they did.
I think Oakley wants to choke James Dolan now for kicking him out of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, but who doesn't want to choke that guy?
That is true. I'm pretty sure if you poll New York, it's like 99.9% of New Yorkers.
Should we choke Dolan? Yes or no? Mostly
I'm
yes.
pretty sure if you go to a Knicks fan, be like, just like anything, like should we legalize marijuana? You got a choice. You can legal, or we could legalize every hard drug in America, or get rid of James Dolan. And they're gonna be like, definitely James Dolan, and just take away everything.
My favorite thing about the New York Knicks is that every year they're always putting rumors out that they're going to get one of the best players in the NBA to come to the New York Knicks, and it never happens.
Got Jalen Brunson.
They're already talking. Jalen Brunson's good. Let's be honest,
but he's not. He's not superstar.
No. He's all-star, I would say. But they like right now. The rumor that I saw just yesterday was that they're trying their best to turn Julius Randle, who's a decent player. Don't get me wrong, but they think they're going to get Embiid for him.
Oh, geez.
You know, the guy who won MVP last year. They're going to get him for Julius Randle.
I also my personal favorite, and it's very personal thing about the Knicks is that they are so closely tied to Bills fans. Seems like a lot of Bills fans are also Knicks fans in this region, living in Buffalo, New York. And I was like, you had a choice as not having a hometown basketball team to pick literally any team you could pick. And you picked the Knicks. You're already a Bills fan. You're probably a Sabres fan. Why in the world would you pick another dysfunctional losing team for your basketball team?
Well, who else are you going to pick?
When I was a kid, I picked the Bulls when I was a kid,
and then
I picked the Cavs when I got a little bit older. Because why not root for a winning team when you don't have a hometown team?
Well, you also got to think about it. If you go with a hometown team in Buffalo for basketball, the closest team with ties to Buffalo
is the Clippers.
Yeah,
I'm going to choose the Knicks over the Clippers.
Why?
Why? Have you seen the history of the Clippers? At least the Knicks players play.
I'm more concerned about the history of the Charlotte Hornets.
And
that's why I'm depressed every day for basketball season. I can't wait for us to lose 40 games this year. It's going to be great.
So you guys were the Bobcats for how long?
A couple years. See, what happened was we had the Hornets, and then Shin, the owner, was like, we're getting out of here because I want a new arena and I want all this money and you're not going to do it. So he goes and says, we're going to go to New Orleans and call ourselves the Pelicans. But they stayed the Hornets for a little bit. And they're like, well, we're going to change this to the Pelicans. So the name the Hornets came up for grabs. And Charlotte was without a team for a couple of years. And it was like, hey, let's get the Bobcats in because Michael Jordan was like, I'll be a part of this. And now we have the Hornets, and we got like LaMelo Ball and a couple guys who are probably going to go to jail at some point.
At least they'll be entertaining. Hopefully, it happens while they're on the court.
I just want Miles Bridges to be arrested after he goes for a dunk. Like, let him score the 2 points first, please, and then you can take him to jail.
Oh yeah, you got that guy. I forgot about that guy.
Oh, we sure do. Go us. But a guy who I would dare say is probably a much better citizen, Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward. I would think so too.
Now, how do you? So I obviously know him purely from basketball. What about you guys?
Well, that's why, like, when you mentioned this, is because I know him for college football, and I said if we're going to do anything college football, and we got the time, I'm bringing in Brian, who is like the college football guy. Like, I would consider that. But me, it's college football. 93, Charlie Ward was the man. Like, he was everything. Florida State was super cool at that point. I don't think I like watching football on Saturdays with my dad. I don't think anything wasn't just based on what Charlie Ward was going to do in a Heisman race in 93. Even in 92, he was pretty good, but 93, I think, was the time that he like shined in football. And then you find out that he played basketball and you're like, what? He does this? And I guess when I was doing research, he got drafted by the Brewers too at one point. So the guy was a 3-sport athlete.
Awesome. 93, I would have been playing football, Little League football, every single Saturday, up until at some point in like early November. So most of his playing time I would not have seen live. Would always be relying on like watching ESPN clips, and he would be on there. I was aware of his name. I was a Florida State fan without any gear, just because they shared the same color pattern as me. They were, our colors were more closely tied, our little team, to the old Redskins colors than I guess still the current Commanders colors. And I was always a side Washington fan besides a Bills fan. And then I was an FSU fan early on too. And that also ties into Dion though too. So it's a little like that's how I really became a fan of FSU, was the same colors. They're also named after Native Americans, and they have really fun, fast players. And Charlie Ward was always secondary for me. It was always Dion first, and then if I think FSU, I would think Charlie Ward. But never basketball. It was always football for me. I didn't watch college basketball. I wasn't aware of college basketball as a real thing. And when I was like, what would I have been, 9 or 10?
I think the other thing with college basketball too is he played for Florida State.
And they weren't good.
Florida State. I mean, you're in the ACC with the Dukes and North Carolina. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, don't forget. And that ends our friendship right there because I said Duke before North Carolina.
I mean, even the likes of like Georgia Tech would be like better than them.
In the 90s, Georgia Tech was quite good. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, they were way down there. They're a little better nowadays, Florida State, as far as a college basketball program. They're normally super athletic. They can jump out the gym, but as far as actually working as an offense, not normally for that long.
Right. Yeah. But, well, growing up in North Carolina, it's most certainly a basketball state here, right? Especially college is huge. College basketball. I mean, I would dare say, one of the biggest rivalries in college sports with Duke and Carolina when it comes to basketball, especially. That one's a storied rivalries, we like to say down here. So like I was well aware of him because this would be when I was a kid, especially around 9 and 10 years old, I did my best not to miss a UNC game. And so I'd get all the ACC news, and I knew about all of these players. And I have a thing for these players who are a double sport type of guy like Charlie Ward, because we had a Mr. Julius Peppers who did the same thing. And I remember seeing this big, huge guy when he was first playing for the Tar Heels in the basketball court. And I was like, I got to see how this guy goes. And he became my favorite player because he was just so cool to watch this humongous guy play and be so wildly crazy athletic despite his size. He looked like a football player playing basketball.
Yeah.
And I remember being blown away by that. But Charlie Ward is, by that era's standards when it comes to football, small, right? He was 6'2".
Yeah, that was like his big knock is no matter how big he was he was 6'2". We talked about it before this episode. So NFL has evolved over time where you don't have to be that 6'4", 6'5", stand in the pocket type quarterback anymore. But back then, that's what they wanted. They wanted you to stand back there, throw the ball. You can't be using your happy feet to be getting around people running around in the backfield. That was you had to be almost like an established star because really the only people that really did that before that point to a high level, Fran Tarkenton and Roger Staubach, that you can look at. You stood in there, you took a hit. That's what you did. And you didn't complain about it because that's what you had to do. I mean, you could shuffle and do anything, but to do the things like Charlie Ward was doing, or say in the ways of like now Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, guys like that, that they see trouble, they get out of it. They see trouble, they get out of it. No, you saw trouble and you you threw the ball away
And you just
threw it into traffic, or and you took a massive hit. Those were your options. Anything else was considered just unathletic quarterback play. And unfortunately, at this time too, I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh, why would you even bring this up?" But I'm not gonna lie, this is '93. I think skin color played a part in it as well. I'm not I'm not doing the black and white thing, but I'm just going with the times. There wasn't that many black quarterbacks in '90.
Yeah.
I mean, off the top of my head, you got pretty much Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham. That's two. How many could you name now? You could name tons. I mean, there was 3 in the first round of the NFL draft. So I think that played a part in him not going and not getting, because his draft grade, here he is winning the Heisman Trophy, and his quarterback stats are really good. I mean, he completed almost 70% of his passes, threw for over 3,000 yards, had 27 touchdowns, and only threw 4 INTs with a passer rating of 157.8, which is really good. He did do some running, not as much as some people might think. I mean, he had 65 attempts for 339 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's what's his Heisman Trophy year. And they put a 3rd to 5th round grade on him because he was 6'2". And he said because he had basketball to rely on, that either I get picked in the first round and I'll guarantee you I'll be at camp for football, or I can't guarantee it to you. I'll just go see what I can get in the NBA. And you look at his basketball stats, the Knicks, in a way, I know he was drafted 26th overall in the first round. They're not jump out at you stats. I mean,
they're very solid. They're very solid stats for a 10-year career vet, but they're not like they're obviously not superstar. They're way more of a very like he basically became that point guard you could kind of depend on to come in and give you some good minutes, and he wouldn't make that many dumb plays, and he would just make your team run pretty well.
I'm talking about his college stats.
I don't know about his college stats.
Oh, there's only one season where he averaged over 10 points a game.
And then that's the only season he ever averages over 10 points a game, I believe.
Yeah, that's and he only played. I mean, I believe because of football and stuff, but he only played maybe like in that season he only played 16 games.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if his Heisman year actually helped him get drafted in basketball then, because like this guy's an athlete, if anything, and he also knows how to play basketball because he played basketball too. So that probably helped a little bit there. There's been a lot of cases where a player was pretty good in 2 sports, but they decided to go with one of the sports. I mean, even recently, Anthony Edwards for the Timberwolves got a lot of heat, even though he was like, he's an incredible basketball player and he's going to be really good.
Sorry.
Oh, Miami also, you can't go there. You got to fit the culture. The but he's like he loves football, right? And he decided to go basketball because he knew he could make more money and just because of how he plays, and it would fit him better. And so he got a lot of flack for a lot of people saying he doesn't really love basketball; he just loves football. But if you can play both, who cares?
Yeah, that was the same thing with Kyler Murray. He signed a pretty decent deal with the Oakland Athletics, and then all of a sudden he wasn't sure if he was going to go play baseball or he was going to play football. But then when they found out that he was going to get drafted first overall, you're like, why would I ride a bus in the minor leagues when I can just be making major money in the NFL?
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so.
So
But it's really well because I think Charlie Ward I know he's for sure the first, but I think he might be the only player to play in the NBA who actually was also a Heisman Trophy winner.
he is.
Right. Yeah.
And he's the first college player to ever go undrafted. First Heisman winner to go undrafted. I mean, if you look, so in '93 he was the national champion, won the Heisman, highest award. He won the Maxwell, which is like the next highest award for best overall player. The Walter Camp Award, which is another great overall player. The Johnny Unitas Award for like one of the best quarterbacks. The Davy O'Brien best quarterback. He was the ACC Offensive Player of the Year, a two-time ACC Player of the Year, a two-time ACC Athlete of the Year, Sporting News Player of the Year in '92 already. He made it into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. That can't be, I don't know how great that is, but, and he also has his jersey retired there. So, I mean, the guy was good. And in '93, see, this is the thing. This proves my point. If you look at the '93 draft, NFL draft, the top draft pick and quarterback is the man, the myth, the legend from Walla Walla, Washington, Drew Bledsoe. So he fits the mold of that guy that's 6'5", 225, 230 or something like that. Yeah, he was 6'5", 238. And why would you want him? But then you got little old Rick Meyer, and I think what Rick Meyer was a bust, who was drafted second overall as a quarterback out of Notre Dame. But Rick Meyer he's the next Joe Montana rub from Bill Walsh, and he ended up being an absolute bust. But it's like nobody wanted him. That's where I think it's not all size, and there was some type of skin color involved as well.
It's got to be some of that, right? Because it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you at least just take a chance on the guy?
Because he wanted to go in the first. It was first round or nothing for him.
Yeah, but there's got to be some teams like toward the end of that first round are like, you know what? Let's just take the guy won a Heisman for crying out loud. Let's at least try him, see what happens.
The Dolphins, I'm glad, pick their pick at this point because we got OJ McDuffie. Nobody says a bad word about OJ McDuffie in front.
Nobody says a bad word about any football player named OJ.
Never.
You keep OJ McDuffie. OJ McDuffie is a saint.
Who's better?
OJ McDuffie is man.
Who's better with a ball in their hands?
OJ McDuffie.
Yeah, who's better with any sort of object in their hands?
OJ McDuffie
gets the job done.
You leave OJ McDuffie alone.
One of them's really good at running through like the malls and stuff to get to a rent a car, though.
So that is a question, though. Why didn't anybody take a flyer on him?
I just think like if you're one of the teams that's on the bottom end of the draft and you're like, you know what, let's just try this guy. Let's just see what we might have something here. Who knows? Like that's the part that just blows me away.
I'm trying to look, and the only one that I could think of, like in the later half of the draft, because there's only 29 teams. Oh, geez, would probably be the Eagles. Because Miami is probably not going to touch them because they're building around Marino. The 49ers, you have Steve Young. the Bills, you still have Kelly. Kelly as the player wasn't that bad. And then the Packers in 93. How did the 93 Packers do? Is that still that's Favre's first year? So I think you just spent a first round pick on Favre. So the only team I could see him going to in 93 in that later half is the Eagles.
I mean, the other thing too is he could have brought him in and been like, hey, let's have him as a backup first and have him learn, and maybe we got, that's the part I don't understand. Like, it just
The
take a
first
flyer on the dude.
the first yeah, but the first round in the NFL draft, that's like I mean, Brian, you're a draft guy. That's your spot. That is going to you're going franchise player. And
Well, yeah, you definitely leverage it more that it's got certain weight. GMs know that the pressure to hit on your first round pick, especially because you normally have the most information on these guys. These are the guys that you got to meet, probably. These are guys that your scouts have talked to. These are guys that you got to see at the combine. These are guys that you got to see at a private workout, guys you got to see at their college workout. Like, it's not always a thing as far as like their talent more than just comfortability. So I would say that Charlie Ward, being the two sport athlete that he was, the apprehension would have been worth it and to not take him the first, probably, because you want a guy that's dialed in. Sean McDermott, hand to God, as a Bills fan, Sean McDermott would not be a Charlie Ward guy because he wants you all about football. He needs to know that that's your passion. That's what you wake up for every day. You wake up to go play football. So there's knuckleheads like that in the NFL back then, and probably even more. But I would think, in comparison to nowadays, for sure, like Charlie Ward wouldn't scare you as much. I mean, Russell Wilson, still gets spring workouts with baseball teams. Like, some of these guys have legit shots at playing in another sport. So
Yeah. So do you just think that he was just ahead of his time then, Charlie Ward?
Mhm.
he is ahead of his time, but I will say that the greatest thing that I learned from doing, a week's worth of kind of looking into him and stuff, is Bobby Bowden, who you would think is as old school as it comes as a coach, and obviously he's a goat, right, of
Oh yeah.
college football. He bought in 100% to Charlie, and I was gonna bring it up. It's one of the few things that I knew, like, they changed their offense when they played against, I believe it was Florida. It was either Florida or Nebraska at the end of the year. It was definitely towards the end of the year. And they changed their offense in the second half because they were down. And they went up with a more hurry up, spread out offense where Charlie was getting the ball out of his hands quick and he was getting guys into positions to like make plays. And he was super accurate with the ball. Like, as far as ball placement goes, like, Charlie Ward was excellent. Um, probably not a big arm. Like, in comparison to like nowadays, if you wanted to say who is he comparable to, he's probably like got the athleticism. This sounds like a knock, but it's not. But like Jared Goff, like Charlie Ward, no, but Goff can run. He just
Hey,
doesn't.
if I was going to compare him to somebody, and like we know we're going to get into like a little bit of what if aspect, I
Yeah.
think he could have been Steve Young.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Steve Young also probably like a high 4.5s guy, low 4.6 guy. That's fast for a quarterback. It looks
Yeah.
different. A quarterback takes off and they're running that speed compared to if you were to look at if you saw a wide receiver run 4.6 like Jerry Rice supposedly did, it looks different on like film or live when you're watching the game compared to when a quarterback does. Quarterbacks just look different when they're up to that speed. And Charlie was gifted enough that he could get out of the way and scramble for some yards, but it was always about, I forget what they called it. They had a fun nickname for their offense, but it was always about get it out of your hands quick, let your wide receivers make plays and just be efficient. And he killed you. It was death by a million cuts, a million paper cuts. And this guy he would take what you gave him, and he knew that his players, because Florida State was such a powerhouse, like the athletes they had at running back and wide receiver were always better than the guys they were facing until they got to little bigger games.
And that makes sense too, because if you watch highlights of Charlie Ward playing basketball, there's one you can find where like he scored like 20 points. He had like a really good game, so there's highlights of it, and he's just throwing these pinpoint accurate passes to like Larry Johnson as Larry Johnson's going down the lane, like perfectly where he would want it, and hitting Latrell Sprewell perfectly where he would want the ball. So that does make sense that he just had that ability, that talent right there of getting apparently any sort of ball where he needed it to go to the right person at the right spot.
Yeah. So the offense came out of, they were down big, I think like 3 scores at least. And I mean, they had to hurry up, right? But then it was just like the cake on offense for the Bills, where all of a sudden they just realized, like, what if this is the offense? What if this is what we always do? And then the next year he comes out 93, because that was in 92. They did that. He comes out 93 and he has the Heisman year. And Heisman too, in a day and age where college football, the power was a lot more central. You had like legit powerhouses. Like now you've got a few that you think are always going to win the championship, but overall the talent is way more spread out, a lot more evenly than it was back then. Back then you had Florida State, Miami, you had Notre Dame,
Nebraska,
definitely Nebraska. There was Texas. Alabama was starting to get there a little bit, but LSU a little bit too. Like the SEC has always been really good, but the fact that he was able to put together that season in that conference, I think speaks louder, and especially at the time then, like it was just harder. It was just harder to be that good and to put together a season like he did.
They were putting hurting on teams. I was looking at the 93.
They played Miami real close in the 92 season, and
They
I
got
kind
it.
of want to go back and watch it. And then Miami ends up winning the national championship that year.
Yeah, 93. They beat Miami 28-10. Well, they beat North Carolina, Johnny.
In football?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Johnny doesn't get. The only game they lost in 93 was to Notre Dame, and I remember this game was 24. They only lost by like 7. It was 31-24 Notre Dame.
I'm just saying North Carolina is not known for their football program. That's all I'm saying.
That's these boys in Texas, man. A different world down here.
Team now.
Yeah, they got a decent quarterback.
Yeah, maybe good.
Yeah. Well, here's the question. Then let's get to this what if thing. Do you think that if Charlie Ward decided, like, if let's just speed him up to an era where he would have fit more, right? Do you think he would have had a better NFL career than he had a basketball career?
100%. I think even back then, because the Chiefs did contact him and say, "Hey, we'll take you in the 5th."
Oh yeah, and they're coming off of old man Joe Montana.
They got one more year of him. Montana retired in 94.
Okay.
Yeah, so they got one more year of Montana. So if he would have said yes, sit behind Montana, and then the next year that Chiefs team went 3-13 with Steve Bono, who there's a lot of people that don't know who Steve Bono is. Biggest claim to fame is he was like the 3rd quarterback for those 49ers teams.
Well, I know he played professionally because of pro bono. Yeah.
But I think Charlie Ward, even back then, could have done something great. I think, especially if he's in that, because it sounds like in college it was a West Coast type offense, and the West Coast is very infancy at that point of just working the ball slowly down the field, find the open guy, time routes and stuff like that. And if he,
Well, in any of the major sports, it takes like one guy with a special talent and a coach and a team willing to kind of play around with that talent. I think immediately of when Steve Nash went to the Suns, right? And they completely changed how they play, where it was like 12 seconds or less, even though you got 24 seconds on the shot clock. Like, hey, we're going to get this ball up the court and we're going to get a shot up in 12 seconds because we got Steve Nash and he can do that.
yeah, I think he would have succeeded. I know I asked this question a while ago on the Facebook page, where do you think he would be? Not too many people like it was Hall of Famer, starter, career backup. Not too many Hall of Famers, but a lot of people were saying starter, and then some said starter, mostly said career backup, but I think he could have been a starter. I think he could have been something a little bit more special and probably would have kick-started the league in what we consider today a quarterback, that you got to move and you cannot be a statue. Like you got to be able to move your feet, move around, open up plays, extend plays and stuff like that. And I think that's what you would have got out of Charlie Ward.
Trying to think of what team he would have fit in then, not just if there was a spot available for him, more of stylistic.
I would have liked to. Oh, sorry. I would like to see
not just
him on
who
the
runs
Chiefs.
it. The Chiefs?
For
well,
meal. I think with the Chiefs, by the time he would have actually got in, this is the Schottenheimer.
Okay.
So by the time he would have got in, you're not benching Joe Montana for Charlie Ward. I don't care how great Charlie Ward is. You're not benching Joe Montana for Charlie Ward. So the 95 season, they went 3-13. He's got 2 years, if he was willing to do it, 2 years to sit behind Joe Montana. Then all of a sudden you jump in and you play Marty ball. And the quarterback, it was Steve Bono, who threw for 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns. I think Ward could have probably done a little bit better. And you got Marcus Allen in the backfield protecting you.
Stephon Page?
No, he's gone by now. You're looking at Willie Davis, Webster Slaughter, Lake Dawson, Traumatic Vanover, who was a teammate of his in Florida State.
These are all made up names.
These are all real legit names.
Lake Dawson was a great TV show. I watched that all the time when I was growing up.
Well,
as a Pacey guy.
What about Kimber Anders? But I think that's something that you could do. And I think Marty probably would have protected him and getting him into an offense that he could probably run a little bit better.
What are some other Heisman Trophy winners that didn't pan out in the NFL? Like major ones. I know there's been a bunch.
Well, that's how it went for most of the time.
Yeah.
It was like almost a curse. It's like you weren't great. Like Tim Tebow, one of the most decorated college quarterbacks of all time, absolute trash in the NFL.
So, Johnny, I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Okay, I'll decide this.
All right. So, back in, I think, 1936, 1929, the NFL has their very first draft.
Yeah.
So, nobody really knows. Scouting's nowhere near what it is today. So, you got the first pick in the draft. And you're like, I'm going to pick this Heisman Trophy winner. So, the first ever pick in the NFL draft is the first ever Heisman Trophy winner, and Jay Bruwanger. Yes, I said that's his name. And he never played it down in the NFL. So the first ever Heisman Trophy winner that was ever drafted never played it down. In his defense, the rubber factory that he went to go work at he could make more money. But we talked about curses. We should have talked about a Heisman curse as well.
Well, I think that happens a lot of times when you go from college into the pros with a lot of the sports. Is it doesn't always just having a decorated college career does not mean automatically you're going to have a really good pro career.
I think it's a little bit easier now to transition.
Well, now, yeah, because like kids are focused on a sport like from 10 years old out, and that's all they do every day.
Well, I think the knock on college is even college has gone through a progression of things where I don't want to say it's gimmicky offenses back then. It just wasn't there wasn't as many teams running pro style offenses. So even in this case of Charlie Ward, the guy that came second to him in Heisman voting, Heath Schuler, he ran a very simplified offense. So like it's like anything in basketball, you're reading the field. He only had to read like two things, and that's it. In the NFL, now all of a sudden that whole field's open up, and you got to look at everything. And I think that's what the problems was with a lot of offenses back in this time where they weren't so pro style as they were. We have better athletes, so we're just going to run some crazy stuff and we're going to get you like the option. Ever see it where two guys are running, the other guy just kind of like tosses the ball behind him? I haven't seen the option in years. Does anybody still run the? You watch way more college than I do. Does anybody even run the option anymore? Like as a
I would imagine everyone has it in their playbook, just whether or not it's built in enough that like wing T, you're talking like wing T stuff.
I'm talking Rich Rodriguez. I know this is a bad name for you. Rich
I'm talking like
Rodriguez, West Virginia type stuff.
Well, in some ways, there's comparisons to what Charlie Ward ran in college as far as how much spread there is, similar in using players all over the field, but not necessarily attacking downfield as much. Charlie Ward's offense would have been attacking downfield more, where Rich Rod was using more space sideline to sideline to try and get guys open.
No, but yeah, but I'm just talking about like the way that colleges ran their offenses. Like it was very much more option veer gimmicky type stuff than what it is
there's probably
today.
like three there's probably like three offenses basically. In 92, 93, you had teams still running the wing T triple option offense, which also includes ground and pound. You had a quote unquote pro style, but it was only pro style in the fact that we're lining up in power I, weak, pro, a lot of 22 personnel, a lot of fullbacks still used. And then you had the really obscure ones, which is like the predecessors to like what you see run now. Was there out in the West Coast, you did have a lot of guys running a lot more wide open passing game, but there's a reason why the Pac-12, besides USC, was terrible forever. There's a reason that you had just blips every now and then. You know, the what Drew Bledsoe with Washington, or obviously the USC always, but like UCLA was nothing in the 90s, and Oregon was nothing in the 90s, and Utah was nothing in the 90s. Like these
so urban,
right? So as far as finding comparisons for Charlie Ward's potential playing from, I actually, in hindsight, I think a lot of guys would agree with us that he possessed everything you did want at quarterback, just in a different package. Charlie Ward was more than just a 6'2" black quarterback who the tertiary fan looks at and goes, "Oh, he was the first like scramble around quarterback." It's like, no, ideally Charlie Ward wanted to catch the ball and shotgun, go through his reads and get the ball out of his hands. Like he wasn't looking to run. He was a smart quarterback and he had great athletes, and why not just rely on them? And there's no way you win a Heisman without doing that back then. You wouldn't survive probably running around like a crazy person.
It looks like he was the first Heisman winner in a long time that wasn't a running back. Oh no.
Yeah, well, I'd have the Heisman's pulled up if you want to give Johnny a few examples of how bad they were. I was just going to start with the next guy after Charlie. So, Gino Toretto.
Don't you keep Gino Toretta out of your mouth. You put some damn respect on Gino Toretta's name. If it wasn't for Gino Toretta, I would have never watched college football. You put some damn respect on Gino Toretta's name.
We're talking pro quarterbacks or pro players.
I thought he was a character in The Godfather.
No. He was drafted, damn it. Seventh round.
Terrible quarterback.
Hey,
so was everybody in the Vietnam War.
It's all right. There's more. Don't worry. He's not alone here. How about just going quarterbacks? How about Danny Werfel?
Hey, you put some damn respect on Danny Werfel's name too.
I love that Andrew knows all these names. I've never at all heard of them.
Have fun and gun offense. Put asses in the seats. Okay, 97 papers for life.
back-to-back years here. We got some bangers. Chris Winkie and Eric
Oh.
Crouch.
Eric
Back-to-back years.
Crouch. Eric Crouch was the example of he ran an option style offense and he gained a lot of yards, but he couldn't throw the ball worth a damn. And then all of a sudden the Rams were like, hey, we'll make you into a wide receiver. So
And Winkie's a great last name. Let's not.
that's your quarterback. That's a Carolina boy. That's a
Yeah,
Carolina
Winkie, great last name. Yeah.
Jason White.
Yeah, Jason White's the next terrible one. I was like, you got to skip over Carson because he was actually pretty good. Matt Leinert's a name, but he wasn't good.
Yeah, Ty Detmer,
Not good.
Andre Ware. The Lions drafted back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners, and only one of them was good. And the other guy, it was Barry Sanders and Andre Ware. And we all know who is good, Barry Sanders.
Yeah, you don't even I know that.
What about this guy, Doug Flutie?
That's a name I've heard.
Doug Flutie, pretty decent.
Here's a prime example. This is a good old ball coach and Steve Spurrier. He was pure trash.
Oh man, you're going way back.
Yeah, there's some good guys back there. Trying to. Troy Smith was horrible.
Yeah, I mean that's why it was a running gag for a long time. Of just you don't draft the Heisman winner.
Yeah,
especially nowadays because it's a quarterback. But I mean, so down in Carolina, there, Johnny, you guys got Bryce Young, won the Heisman in 21.
Yeah, he's doing great, right?
He looks fine. He looks fine. He's not awful.
A rookie.
We're winning a lot of games.
I wouldn't expect winning a lot of games in Carolina for football in quite some time.
Joey Burrow there, obviously he's good.
Exactly.
Tyler Murray, I don't know, maybe good. Baker, I don't know.
Johnny Manziel, he was horrible.
Oh, everyone could have called that though. If there were bets in Vegas for Johnny Manziel being a Pro Bowler or Johnny Manziel being arrested with a dead hooker in his trunk,
I go with
bet in Vegas, I would have put all the money on the dead hooker in his trunk.
I'd go with the dead hooker 100%.
Yeah. Or would Johnny Manziel flame out because he's a horrible drug addict? I would have bet that all day.
Well, here's the thing I was trying to think of. Like in the equivalent with basketball would probably be the Wooden Award, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they give the Wooden Award out to the best college basketball player. So I was looking that up, and a lot of these names are your big names that you know and you recognize. But then you also have some every once in a while that you're like, let me find one here. Doug McDermott, solid player, but he's not gonna change your team. Jimmer Fredette, probably one of the greatest scorers in college, and he played like one game in the NBA basically.
I heard he's killing it though in China.
He is, and also of all the basketball card rookie autographs that I got, that's the one that I got. So go me.
He was doing stuff before Steph Curry that Steph Curry does. I remember him in the tournament taking 2 dribbles past the half court line and jacking up a 3 and in it.
Yeah, but he was also, I think I don't know. I don't know him well enough to say this, but I think his attitude didn't help him any.
I think you're correct.
TJ Ford. Just throw that name out there.
That's
Ford?
the first ever draft. Michael Jordan picked TJ Ford.
Yeah, it sure did. But I mean, you also got names like Larry Bird, of course, Ralph Sampson, Michael Jordan, Chris Mullin, David Robinson, all these Hall of Famers also at the same time.
Yeah,
and Larry Johnson. I can't leave out LJ.
way more likely that the best player in college basketball turns out to be a good pro basketball player.
Yeah,
way more likely. And it has to do with the fact that it has to be that there's only 5 guys involved at one time instead of 11, because as a quarterback, like perfect example would have to be Schaub for Houston Texans right now. He didn't win a Heisman, but still regarded as potentially or not Schaub, Carr, sorry, Derek's brother David, regarded as a really good prospect coming out. Everyone's like, cool, Houston, new franchise, gonna get a good swing here. And their offensive line was so trash that dude didn't stand a chance to learn anything because you can't learn how to play better when you're always on your back.
I think
And
that
where basketball, you don't have to worry. Like basketball, you could already have some decent pieces set up. Perfect example is probably Orlando, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
comes in and already it's like, okay, here we go.
or Oklahoma City. They have really good pieces that they've drafted, right?
it
But like,
think
here's the thing too, though. With I'm very curious how this is in the NFL, because basketball wise, it's definitely changed, right? Younger players have more options now. Instead of just going to college, they can actually play pro right away if they really want to. But my example would be, I guarantee you, if I said you can't look it up, who are the 4 Wooden Award winners after Zion Williamson? Guarantee you wouldn't get them.
I'm not. I looked at a couple of names. I'm not gonna lie.
But would you have gotten them if you didn't look?
I have no idea who any of those people were. Some guy from Dayton won it.
Obi Toppin's actually really good.
I've probably, now that you actually said his name, I don't know who any of these people are.
His first name's Opie.
OBI.
Like
he's
Obi-Wan.
an awesome. He throws down some thunder dunks. I'll tell you that much. He's a really good highlight reel type of player. But then you got like Luke Garza. And there's no offense to these players; they're all really good players. Zach Eddy won it last year. Oscar, and I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I will not say it right. The year before that, these are years when you have like some incredible. Well, also too in the NBA, the players from other countries are becoming a huge deal, right? And that's the other reason for that. How's it in the NFL today or recent times? Does the Heisman winner mean anything anymore, or as much as it used to?
It's a quarterback award.
Yeah, it's turned into like the NFL MVP.
Yeah,
because everything.
2 years ago, no, 2 years ago, Devontae Smith, wide receiver, won it, which was a big deal back then.
That's huge because not too many wide receivers win anything. Like there's been more kickers to win the NFL MVP than wide receivers.
Did Johnny Townsend win one?
No, it was Mark Mosley, 1982 Washington Redskins, and I'm going to call them the Washington Redskins because that's what they were called back then.
Yep, that's fine.
I don't care.
I think it's I just letting listeners know because I'm pretty sure there's somebody.
I don't care, and I legit have Native American ancestry in my.
If you listen to the Retroactive Sports podcast and you don't prefer hearing Redskin over football team or Commanders, I dare say you're probably listening to the wrong podcast.
True. I think the way that you look at a lot of awards is getting into just the changing of sports. So, like, you watch the Heisman go from a running back award to a quarterback award.
Yep.
Just like you watch the NBA go from center oriented to wing oriented. Like that's what I've noticed. I know a lot of people, the younger people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, listen, back in my day, if you didn't have the guy in the center, yes, I used.
I know you did.
You don't have that guy in the middle.
There's a reason why Olajuwon was chosen ahead of Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think Michael Jordan is the GOAT because he dominated in a land of giants.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. But now it's, if you don't have wings, what are you? You can get away with absolutely no center.
And if you're going to be a center, you got to be able to shoot threes and do everything that everybody else can do.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the huge thing now too, is the three.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't even count on a handful of times I've actually watched the center when I was younger get behind the 3-point line and shoot.
Do you know how many threes in his career Shaquille O'Neal has?
One.
Exactly one 3-pointer in his career. Yeah.
One. But I can't think of too many. But I think that's where it comes into the change and being ahead of its time, like kind of like in the sense of the Michael Jordan, where he was picked third and he's a shooting guard. And I'm not comparing.
Yeah, but also if you notice, nobody ever knocks Houston for taking Olajuwon in that draft. It's always the Sam Bowie thing that people bring up. Always.
How can you?
You can't.
You can't. You still got 2 championships out of them.
Yeah, that's like the of course, it's all knowing what we know now. But at the time when it was Zion Williamson coming out, you're just taking Zion, right? Because
Yeah.
just the upside is just way too high for you to miss out on. So you gotta take him, despite the fact that John Morant is right behind him.
Oh, I wish I was wearing my Murder State Racers hat.
He's got the best nickname now, though. Jaw Wick is just such a great nickname.
I say
Yeah,
it.
well, the problem is he's as injury prone as Zion is. John Morant is dumb. So
Yeah, I hope they both figure it out because they're really good players. But
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, stop
Well,
being
Zion's
close.
one of your co-hosts, right, Johnny?
yeah, Zion. Yeah, he shows up on a panel
Respect.
discussion from time to time.
I love that clip of the guy put together as a TikTok reel or whatever, and it's all his highlights and using explosions and stuff like that. Zion smash.
I
I just telling you, like I remember, and I am not a Duke guy, obviously, because I'm a Carolina guy. But I remember being blown away by the fact that he literally destroyed one of his tennis shoes
oh
by
yeah.
just playing basketball in it.
Well, you can do that with big baller brands too, but that's for a different reason.
Hey, you put some respect on the ball name. We
Oh,
got one of the best point guards in the
I
league.
will. I will when Brian apologizes for the Gino Toretta and Danny Warfel comments.
We're getting no apologies for any of us.
It was my guy in '92.
Until I looked at that list, I had never heard of or thought of Gino Toretto.
I loved Gino Toretta. That was like
Gino Toretto is like if somebody said, "Hey, do you know Gino Toretto?" I would have been like, "Is he like that old New York cop from the 1970s?"
I would have known exactly what you were talking about.
Like, oh, is he the guy that owns all those Philly cheesesteak places? And
Oh man, I do like a good Philly cheesesteak
Yeah,
though.
they're good. I only went to Tony Luke's when I was there.
I
Tony
didn't go
Luke's
to
does
either,
good.
but
Shout out to Tony Luke's. You want to sponsor us?
Hey, I shout out to anybody who wants to
I'll kick
sponsor us.
Brian off the show if you ever catch his Facebook comment that he made to Alex about we don't root for Boston and Philly teams. So, but I'll kick him off if you sponsor us, Tony Luke.
Oh, you don't root for Philly teams. You should be really happy with this James Harden stuff right now. This is gotta be making your day, Brian.
I don't root for Philly and I don't root for Boston teams ever. Period.
I don't root for the Lakers, and that's about it. Unless they had Worthy, but they don't have Worthy anymore, so I can hate them again.
They're
Very
not
good.
worth it.
Fair. But Johnny, Brian, here's the question. In hindsight, did Charlie Ward make the right move? And would it change the landscape of either pro football or pro basketball?
I can go first on this. It would not change the landscape of pro basketball because I kind of think he was what he was destined to be when it comes to that. A really solid backup point guard overall with a very good career that anybody would like to have. And he made really good money playing basketball. So I think from that aspect, he wouldn't have changed it. But also, I think you'd be lucky to have that kind of career, right? Anybody would. You'd be happy with it. And in fairness to him, too, in interviews now, he seems very content with his life. And I know I was making jokes at the beginning of this, but he really does come off pretty humble and he having no regrets now. Like he thinks his life went the way it was supposed to, basically, and he's not mad about it. When it comes to football, though, that's where this is to me the most interesting because the way that game has also changed when it comes to the quarterback position. So I'm very curious what you two think about that question because I honestly don't know because it could have gone either way. He could have ended up. I think it depends on what team he would have got drafted to, right? Like some of them would have been really stuck in their ways and not even give them a chance because it's all about getting a chance.
I think Charlie Ward made the right choice for his pocketbook.
Yes.
He definitely made more money playing basketball. As far as legacy goes, as minimal as he had in college, like it was so brief, his like fame, and he made a impact, which I don't think really shifted the league, but it was like a nice fun moment. I don't like that his career in basketball was so kind of boring. There wasn't really anything to it. There was no all-star moments. There was no championships. There was nothing. It was just an ordinary player playing for an ordinary. Well, I guess no mid-90s Knicks. They're good. They're
a good team. The Knicks.
yeah, they're a good team. He just wasn't part of it though, which sucks. So I do think he made the wrong decision as far as like he could have had more of an impact in football.
Maybe as a legacy decision is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as what we think, I think we could have seen like he may have been able to change the fate the franchise, a specific franchise forever.
Yeah, because I kind of think if you asked anybody, hey, how long do you think Charlie Ward played professional basketball? I think people's guesses would be all over the map.
Less than 5 years.
I would have
could have been told it was less than 5 years.
I would have probably said around 10.
Well, I would have too, but it's because me and you are basketball nerds, especially about the 90s basketball.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like if you would have just asked anybody, hey, how many first of all, they probably would have said Charlie who, and I'm not trying to offend them at all because I thought I got stock in Charlie Ward.
Hope it's not NFL stock.
No, it's a rookie a basketball card, Charlie Ward.
So I think he would have. I'm with Brian at kind of exactly what he said and what you guys were saying. It depends on where he would land in the NFL. If the old guard would have got him, I don't think we would have seen anything. If somebody with fresh ideas and knew what to do with somebody like Charlie Ward, I think we would have seen what we're seeing now, maybe a little bit sooner of, this age of quarterback where you're more athletic than what you are before.
Sometimes it takes just one player to sort of start a shift and change in how an entire sport plays.
True.
Steph Curry is a great example of this.
Yeah, I like that. As far as NFL goes, though, they've been the most stubborn, I think, as far as any sport goes.
Baseball too.
Racing change. Well, no, but I mean, baseball's the sport's so limited as far as I think with like a singular. It's not like you're inventing a new swing to get the ball out of the park. It's not like you're inventing a new catch to get it. But football players, like quarterbacks, can change how you look and see like how you make a. The NFL has been slapped in the face by like 5 different guys, like Fran Tarkenton, like smack. Wait, you're small and you're running out of the pocket all the time and always making plays out of structure. We don't like that. All right, he goes away. And then like it comes around again, like I'll skip away ahead, but like even like Michael Vick, like smack in the face of like what is this? Like a guy that can just take off and be the fastest guy in the field, and he's got a cannon for an arm.
Oh, you're missing a guy.
He goes away.
Well, he had some other stuff going on.
No, you're missing a guy before Michael Vick.
Well, the Cunningham, but there's like the NFL has refused to embrace certain aspects of their sport that is fun and exciting, and it's been there the whole time. It was there back in 1993 when he was available to be drafted if he chose it to be, and no one wanted it. I think the franchise that stands out, and this will be my final point, Tampa Bay. You stood on Vinny Testaverde and didn't even give this guy a third round. I know he may not have come, but let's say like you could have convinced him. You're there. You're in Tampa. You're only 60 miles away probably from where he is playing football, and you didn't want that at all.
You probably would have sold tickets, right? You would have sold tickets to your games.
Hometown teams should always draft. Hutchinson playing for the Lions right now. Dominant Michigan player, one of the best players ever to play defensive end for Michigan. The best defensive end in football right now.
That stands for in basketball too. The Hornets are always drafting Duke and Carolina players, and it's totally worked out for us. So,
okay, my thing with the Bucks is, do you remember how bad the Bucks were in the 90s?
Yeah, so he could have made it worse. So
they kept rolling Vinny Testaverde out there. What'd you expect?
No, they got rid of Vinny. Vinny took over for Burns. Vinny's last year was.
Well, I mean, they could have took a chance.
Vinny's last year was 92. Yeah, because 93 he made it to. He was with the Browns and they made it to the playoffs.
Look how it lined up. They didn't even have a guy and they passed on him.
Yeah,
even bigger black eye.
You put some damn respect on Steve DeBerg's name. You put some damn respect on
Kansas
Steve
City
DeBerg's
cast off?
name.
No, thank you. That was my go-to team in Tecmo.
What one? The
Kansas City.
oh,
Steve DeBerg.
you put some
F on
damn.
page.
I can't play that
Shouldn't
game
tell you.
because Jake Delhomme's not in it, so I refuse to play it.
I think I have one with Jake Delhomme on my Retro Pi.
Somebody kind of went back in there and did some stuff,
You would be
updated those
amazed,
rosters.
but the community of Tecmo Super Bowl.
Oh, I guarantee I know. Yeah, all kinds of games have a wild community. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure those guys watch me play on the YouTube channel for the retroactive, and those guys probably cringe at some of the stuff that I do because they're like, wait a minute, you got to do this, you got to do that. What kind of playbook are you using? Yeah, but I'm doing good with the Jets though.
I'm an NFL Blitz guy, so I can talk NFL Blitz with you. But that's about it.
But I think we've
Hail Mary every play.
I think we've there's a funny story behind that, but I think we've wrapped everything up in a neat little package. So let us know what you think.
Just like
Charlie
Mac's girlfriend said when she saw me naked, that's a nice, neat little package. Let
us know how you feel
Tell
about
the
this.
truth, it wasn't neat.
Send us a message. Let us know if you got any show ideas or anything like that. And
yeah, thank you,
I
Brian.
guess like
Thanks for
Johnny's girlfriend said before.
let's before we talk about my package. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Oh yeah,
we appreciate it. Where can people go to check out your stuff?
Go where you just found this podcast and just type in crafting and drafting, and I'm about to drop the 50th episode. I don't know where the wall breakage should be here, but that'll be the first episode of season 4 is the 50th episode, which Johnny and Andrew have helped along the way. I appreciate you guys being a part of that show as our guests. And Aaron Grievous's, we talk Star Wars.
Yeah, make sure you check those out.
The sports fans are always into it. I felt weird dropping that in.
There's nothing wrong with having multiple passions.
That's right. In fact, I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
Just look at Charlie Ward.
Exactly. Great example. Great example. All right. For Brian, for Andrew, I'm Johnny. Thank you for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. And may the force be with you.
Enjoy your